So to make our macaroni and cheese, I am actually getting started here on my sauce, but I went ahead and cooked up my pasta, and I cooked it 2 minutes less than what the package says. So depending on the type of noodle that you're using, you'll want to cook accordingly. For our sauce, I'm starting out with my butter. I'm going to go ahead and let that melt down. And then I'm going to add in my flour and kind of create a roux. I've got my stovetop here on medium heat, and I am making quite a large batch because I'm going to portion it out and freeze it so that we can enjoy it at a later date as well. So once that butter gets nice and melted, then we're going to add in our flour and cook that flour down. Alright, so I can see that the milk solids are kind of separating there. I'm going to go ahead and add in my flour, and we want to whisk this into the butter, and this is going to create a kind of a paste, also known as a roux. And we want to cook this until it's a little bit light golden. Basically what we're doing is we're trying to get the flour taste to cook out. The flours are thickening agent. So that looks nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and just cook this for about a minute or two. I'm going to cook that flour out. Like I said, I'm making a larger portion of this than the original recipe. So I'm going to need to cook it just a little bit longer because I have double the ingredients. So just keep it moving. And then I'm going to start to add my milk. It's starting to look pretty good. Alright, so I've got my milk here, and I'm going to go ahead and start adding. I have a helper that's going to help me stir while I add. And it's going to get kind of lumpy, and you want to really mix. Alright, there's my milk. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of whisk just to make sure I don't have any lumps. Get my milk out of the way. So this is nice and smooth, and I'm just going to let this go until the milk gets nice and heated up before we start to add our other ingredients. So this will take a few minutes. Okay, so we are ready to start adding our cheese in. So I've got some Gruyère and white cheddar cheese that I'm going to go ahead and add in. Switch over to my spatula here. I am going to add some pepper to this as well. You could also add a little bit of nutmeg if you wanted a different kind of a taste profile. So I'm going to add half of the cheese to this, and then the remaining half will be what I use to put on top of my dish. So that is about half. I'm also going to take some Parmesan cheese, and I'm going to toss that with my pasta, my cold pasta. Then I'll put the pasta in my dish, and then I'll pour my sauce on top. I'll top it off with some crackers, some buttery crackers, and then it will be ready to bake off. So my sauce is all nice and beautiful and just the perfect consistency. I've got my noodles over here that I'm going to toss with some Parmesan cheese. I'm going to add a little more pepper to this. I'm going to give it a little taste too. What we're doing here. A little taste. So good. That is delicious. Okay. So the only thing I have left to do is combine some Parmesan cheese here with my noodles, pour in some of my cheese, and then I will put some more cheese on top and some cracker crumbs, and then it will be ready to put in the oven. So I went ahead and combined my Parmesan cheese with my noodles, and now I'm going to go ahead and ladle on my sauce here. And like I said, I am making 2 batches of this so that I can enjoy one now for a dinner party, and then the other small one will go into the freezer to be baked up at a later date. So I'm going to start to mix this. I also put some butter. I greased my pan with some butter as well. It's creamy. It's like the perfect consistency of the cheese. So I'm just kind of mixing this around. I'm paying attention to not scrape the sides or anything because I got that butter that's greasing the pan. So I'm also going to just sprinkle a little bit of nutmeg and kind of mix that in to add a little more flavor, especially if you make this during the holidays. This is like the perfect little accompaniment. So I didn't add it to my sauce because I want one with nutmeg and one without. So I'm just going to kind of come through with my fork and stir this around. Alright, so now that I've got that all stirred in, and I did add in some pepper as well as some salt and just tasted it until I was happy with the flavoring. So I'm going to come through and add some cheese on top, a layer of cheese here. Not too much because this is a very cheesy macaroni and cheese. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I've got some butter here that I've melted in the microwave. And I'm going to add that to some crackers here. Mix those around. And then I'll just sprinkle the crackers on top, and that will give us a nice little crunchy texture. And then you'll just want to bake this in the oven until it's nice and bubbly and golden brown. And that's it. So now if you want a different take on the crumble topping, you can take your crackers and mix them with a little bit of crispy onions. And that will give you another twist on a crunchy topping, especially for those onion lovers in your household. So once I add this, just like I did to my larger one, you will just want to bake it off at a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes or until bubbly and golden brown. And that's it. Enjoy. I went ahead and baked off my macaroni and cheese, and you can see it's nice and golden brown on top and bubbly on the edges. So we are ready to eat. Take a taste. This is comfort you won't waste for more great